What's up, everybody? Mark with Coffee&Toys here, and today we will be reviewing issue number 2 of Duke from Skybound Entertainment. Duke issue 2 is written by Joshua Williamson, art by Tom Riley, colorist Jody Belair, and the letterer Russ Wooten. So we have the same group that worked on issue 1 now working on issue 2, and I must say I love the way this I love the style of the artwork. I love the story itself. Duke has been very fun. Now, for a quick review of what ended with issue 1 of Duke, Duke is on the run. Dr. Burkhart has given him a device and was subsequently killed because of giving that device. And a group is after Duke. We're not exactly sure who that group is yet. Duke was very much injured. He had to bust his way out of a building, and he is on the run. Now, with that being said, we're going to jump into what exactly starts off issue 2, and here we go. So if you don't like spoilers, turn around now. Issue 2 opens up with a man sitting on top of something. He has an umbrella up and he's got sunglasses on, and he's looking through his phone, and he sees that there is a headline in the news that says, and I'm going to read it right here, "American hero wanted for murder on the run." And it's a picture of Duke, obviously when he was more clean-shaven, and the Duke we all are more familiar with. And this individual makes this comment, "Well, better you than me." And he stands up from his lawn chair, and he surveys his surroundings, and he's on top of a trailer in a junkyard. There's cars everywhere, and we get a brief sign that says, "Manny's Mean Machines." And this character gets down, goes back inside his trailer, and we get a brief picture of a diploma. I don't believe it was hanging on the wall, but it might have been. But there's a diploma, and the diploma says, from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, issued to Lance J. Steinberg. Of course, Lance J. Steinberg is none other than Clutch. So yes, we have a new GI Joe character in this storyline, that of Clutch. And Clutch is pouring himself some coffee, saying, "Hey, this is day-old coffee. It's not that bad." And Duke appears, and they reminisce for a brief moment, and he's like, "What the hell happened to you?" And it goes pretty much from there on out. They're talking. We get a pretty cool scene where they try to reenact in the panel. In my opinion, it's of the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers Predator moment where they lock arms up and they flex. They kind of put that in the panel and do some little illustrations around. It's actually really neat, so I appreciate them putting that little Easter egg if that's indeed what it was. A female walks out of Clutch's bedroom and says something, and Clutch can't remember her name, so she slaps him and leaves, and it leads to some funny dialogue between Clutch and Duke. Next panel, we see that Duke is his wounds are being attended to by Clutch. He's pulled a couple bullets out. Clutch is asking him questions about what's going on. Can you go to your brother? Why don't you go back to General Hawk? And Duke pretty much answers all these questions. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. Nobody's going to believe this story anyway. And Clutch is like, "Well, I don't believe it either. I don't believe that you saw a robot turn into, or an airplane turn into a robot." But he goes on, finishes his taking care of his wounds, and before we get into it too far, there is a brief 2-panel picture of Destro. He's shadowed out again, and he seems to be sitting in a seat, and he clicks a button. But that's all we get of any baddies in this issue. We cut back to Clutch and Duke, and they're looking at this device that that Duke received from Dr. Burkhart, and Clutch is basically explaining it to him. He's like, "You know how you can put a tracker on something, and then you know where it's at, and what if you were to sell that information to somebody?" He's like, "That's pretty much what this device is. It's very illegal. You shouldn't do this." And he manages to get the device to display a ginormous map, and there's a big red dot on it. And so this map appears with a ginormous dot on it. Looks like it's in the American Southwest, and Clutch says, "That's where you need to go to get some answers." So with that said, we suddenly hear outside some sort of noise, some kind of noise. At least that's how it's written in the comic. I apologize for my sound effects. But anyway, this sound effect happens. Duke and Clutch look off to the side, and suddenly a whole bunch of bullets just start shooting into the place. They go for cover, and we see that outside stands Rock and Roll. Now, if you remember from the end of issue 1, Stalker and Rock and Roll were sent out to capture Duke on the request of General Hawk. So Rock and Roll's unloading on this trailer, and they make their way, Clutch and Duke make their way to the garage next to the trailer, and Duke and Clutch are seemingly pinned into the garage. Rock and Roll says, "Surf's up, you might as well come on out." And it's very cool to see Clutch, by the way, Rock and Roll, by the way, because he is very much drawn like the modern day classified figure, which is very cool. So at this point, our heroes are trapped. Rock and Roll seems to have him pinned down, and we lead to the next scene. And of course, our heroes look like they're down, but suddenly the vamp comes bursting out of the garage door. So it's very cool that Clutch has the vamp, and that's kind of his pride and joy. That is his baby. And they skirt off past Rock and Roll, and Rock and Roll's continually shooting at them. So as they're driving, Clutch makes a comment saying, "I don't know who this guy is, but he really sucks at shooting if he's trying to hit us." And Duke mentions, he goes, "I don't think he's trying to kill us or harm us. I think he's trying to herd us in." And before that thought can be finished, we see Stalker in a sniper's position, laying prone, take a shot at the vamp, damaging both tires in a single shot. And Clutch loses control of the vamp. They wreck the vamp. Clutch gets knocked out. And in a moment of, a little funny moment, he does actually say something about the girl, whoever her name was. And, he says his head's hurt. And he's like, "Oh, such and such name, come back to bed." And Duke makes the quip about, "Oh, now you remember her name when you're almost knocked out cold." And so anyway, Duke gets out of the vamp, meets up face to face with Stalker, and Stalker's like, "I've got to bring you in. Hawk wants you back." Duke's like, "I don't answer him anymore." And long story short, Stalker knocks him out cold, defeats him. He does make a reference as he's kicking Duke upside the head. He says, "Let me show you a move a friend taught me." So we can only assume that's Snake Eyes that maybe taught him that roundhouse kick that put Duke on his butt. And then, a boot to the face later, and Duke is incapacitated. We next get a helicopter view, and it looks like Clutch and Duke are being taken back. They are presented with hoods on. General Hawk says, "You know what to do with them." And we cut back to a ginormous base. Yeah, you know where this is going. A ginormous base, and the masks are taken off, and Stalker, I think it's Stalker or Rock and Roll, one of them says, you guys are going where all criminals go, and that's the pit. And Duke makes the mention, which is interesting because Duke says, "I thought this place was decommissioned back in the 80s. So I thought that was a really cool nod. And Stalker says, "Well, it was, but this is where we're keeping you. This is where we keep the baddest of bads that we need to keep under lock and key." So they go into the pit. They go to the very bottom of the pit. Rock and Roll and Stalker are escorting Clutch and Duke to their cells. They put them in their cells. They close the door and they leave. And suddenly, they've been down there for a few minutes, but suddenly another voice comes out and says, "You want your freedom, I want my freedom. Let's work together and try to figure out how to get out of this place." And the last panel of issue 2 gives us the Baroness, who has been captured as well, and sporting a short haircut. It's very interesting. And what's that mean for issue 3? I don't know. But overall, I really enjoyed this issue. We got a lot. We get Clutch. We get to see Rock and Roll and Stalker in action against Duke. We see the vamp. And ultimately, we get the Baroness brought into the picture. So, very interesting. And like I mentioned, they briefly showed Destro. So I don't know if the Baroness and Destro thing's going to play out in the future. Maybe there's going to be like some sort of trade-off. I don't know. But what's the dot that's on the map? I don't know where it is. Like I said, I believe it looks like it's in the United States. But I don't know. But is this going to tell us more of where the Transformers are? There's a lot of questions left after this issue. Seeing the pit was very cool. Of course, in the breakdown of it, they do show it, and it's multiple levels, very similar to how they used to do in the early GI Joe comics from Marvel. So that was a nice little throwback as well. But overall, I think I'm going to rate this issue. I think we're going to start like a 5-star system. I'm going to rate this issue. If issue 1 was a 5-star, I'm going to give this one a good 4. Continuing the story very well. Introducing new characters, definitely leaving me wanting to see the next issue. So yeah, that's my review of of Duke issue 2 by Skybound Entertainment. And yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Did you pick up issue 2? What were your thoughts around it? What do you think of this review? And one more thing I do want to add to this. Before I do, if you could smash that like button, I'd really appreciate it. It helps the channel out a lot. Actually, it helps it out immensely. So I appreciate everybody that likes these videos. Helps me out a lot. I've been getting some requests to do a just kind of a review of the original Marvel series. Evidently, there's a few of you that have never read the series, and I will fully admit it is very difficult to track down all those issues and be able to read them. So if you're interested in me doing a maybe a once a week review of GI Joe, a Real American Hero through Marvel, the Marvel Comics run, issues 1 through 155, drop me a comment. Let me know if you're interested in something like that, because I've read it before. I've read the series multiple times, but I could certainly read it again and give my reviews on every issue. So make sure you drop a comment. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you hit that bell notification, set it to all notifications, because I do comic reviews, toy reviews, and yeah, final thing, it's February 1st. Happy birthday, G.I. Joe. 60 years. Yo, Joe.